Welcome to Racers Roundtable presented by PAPosseRacing.com. Tonight we are in the home of the number one 358 sprint car driver, Timmy Wagaman. Timmy, welcome to Racers Roundtable.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get started. You are the driver of the 358 in the sprint cars. How did you get started driving sprints?
Well, I helped Jeff Rollball for a good amount of years, and I finally got to the point where he got me a ride in the sprint car for a couple of rides, and it was Ed McDaniels was the car owner. He was driving for Davey McDaniels at the time, and then that kind of fell through where I couldn't drive his car anymore. I had to work on Friday nights, and so I got to the point where I needed to make a decision whether I wanted to help on a race car for the rest of my life or try to race, and I wanted to race, so that's what we did. We tried to get the fundage to do that and buy our own car, buy our own motor, and here we are.
Now, what year was that when you got your own car and started racing?
It was about 4 years ago, so I'd say about late 2004, early 2005, I would think.
How'd the first few races go?
Not too bad. I mean, the first year we started was probably like seven or eight races to go in the year, and I think we won a couple heat races. Didn't really have a lot of luck in the feature, but it was inexperience and just lack of extra parts and stuff, trying to protect what you have, and it kind of went pretty good though. We're still at it, so I guess it didn't go too bad.
You race predominantly, easy for me to say, at Trailways and Lincoln. What's the differences between the two racetracks, besides the size and the speed? Mindset-wise, what's the difference between the two racetracks?
Well, pretty much at Trailway, everything happens a lot faster. So you kind of got to look ahead a lot more. You're always looking ahead. Well, I am at least. I mean, you should be. But everything happens a lot faster at Trailway. It's shorter straightaways. The turns are a lot narrower, so you got to kind of, you got to watch ahead and make sure that nobody's spinning out in front of you and you're not getting tangled up in a wreck that you shouldn't be tangled up in. At Lincoln, it's a lot more wide open, and you have a little bit more time to prepare for something like that. So,
the big misconception with Trailways is there's all kinds of wrecks all the time. A lot of the younger guys start out there. I mean, they allow the age, I think it's 14, they allow you to start racing there. Do you feel the track is, it's an unwanted perception that you go there and you're automatically going to tear stuff up? Or do you enjoy the close racing? And, I mean, just how's Trailways in general compared to what other people's perception is?
Well, I think if you go to Trailway Speedway, I mean, you're always going to be close quarters, so you're going to get in a scuffle here or there. You might rub wheels, or you might wreck. You might tear your front axle out. But if you wreck there, you have a better chance of coming out with a broken front axle or a broken shock or a wheel or maybe a wing. You go to Williams Grove and you have a chance of tearing a whole car, having to replace a whole frame, your whole front axle, your rear end assembly, your bird cages, everything. So it's not as fast of a racetrack as Williams Grove, but you're less likely to have to replace as much.
Who's our little visitor?
Well, that's one of the cats.
Do you enjoy, I mean, you run there. Is there a reason why you run Trailways instead of like going to Williams Grove on Friday nights, or is it a money thing, motor thing, or is it just that you enjoy the short trip? Me personally, I love going to Trailways. Spend most of my Friday nights there because I love the close-knit racing. Is that the reason you go there every week to run, or?
I go to Trailway because it's 5 minutes from my house. I'm not going to be putting on 6 tires a night. I can race a right rear tire, 2-3 features, a left rear tire, 4 or 5 features, maybe 6. Get away with it, and I'm not burning off front tires. It's a lot easier on my pockets. The motors aren't getting as much wear and tear, and like I said, the wreck factor. I'm not saying that we're going to wreck, but the wreck factor, if you do wreck, you might be out a week or two. Where Trailway, you can repair something simple and and be back on the track that night or the next week.
Yeah, the big wrecks, you might see one or two of them a year at Trailways, where at Williams Grove you're going to see one of them once or twice a night, where a car just goes flying. I mean, I can remember Derek Sell flipped the last race of the year real bad. Jesse and Eric Tomacek got together, and Eric took a big spill the one race. But other than that, all you see mostly is a guy lose control and spin out in a corner, and because of the tight knits corners, a couple guys will pile on.
Well, and that's another thing. Like as far as track conditions, I mean, at Trailway it's fast all night, not a whole lot of blowing off. You know, at Williams Grove, you kind of see single file racing all night long, and I mean that's not really racing to me. I'd rather be racing all night long beside somebody, making passes, you know, having a chance to win. And I'm not saying that we couldn't win at Williams Grove, but I'd rather have a chance to pass some people. And a lot of people can do that at Williams Grove, but I don't see it as much when I go there anymore.
I don't either.
I used to see it a lot, and I think some of it, you know, could be a bunch of different things. But
the tires?
It could be.
That's a subject we'll touch on a little bit later. How does the track, as Trailways, how do they treat you? I know you hear stories about other racetracks, they don't care. They don't care what the drivers or the owners think. You know, all they want's the money. Is Trailways, do they treat you better? Do they, if you have a question about something, you go and talk to them? Or do they take the time to listen?
Yeah, they do. I've had some altercations with, you know,
well, that's normal.
Not necessarily track management, you know, different things. But they'll let you come in there, talk to them. You'll speak your piece. They'll call you later that week. They'll at least take the time out of their time, and they'll call you and talk to you a little bit. And you know, over the winter they'll call you if they have any questions regarding anything, and they'll talk to you about it. And I think they listen. Hopefully they put that into perspective of what's going to go on with their racetrack throughout the year.
Now you started, if I remember correctly, when the track was still flat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was whoever started on the front row, 99% of the time was going to end up winning the race. Now they continue to add banking. They said this year they're going to raise the banking to an even 10 degrees in the corners. How has that made the racing for the drivers? I know for the fans, for me sitting in the stands, I love it. But as far as a driver, how's that changed for you?
You know, Jeff Rohrbaugh told me at the beginning of the year this year that there's not enough room for two cars to get off the corner. We made it happen all year long, and it, you know, it was, and he agrees now. He thinks the racing was better. You know, everybody had to step up their game because, you know, he figured the track out way before anybody else. Him and Brad and Billy,
right.
They figured the tracks out, and now it keeps constantly changing. They keep doing things to make it better and better. And I'll give you an example. Earlier this year, the first race of the year, I was driving on track like it was last year. You know, I ended up 6th. I started on the front row.
Right.
Led a bunch of laps. You know, and I thought I was fast enough to be able to win that race, but I ended up 6th because I wasn't driving it like I should have drove it. You know, so you're constantly on top of your game, constantly making changes to your car,